in listen-only mode.
Good morning, folks. Jack Allsop here. I will be starting the deep dive about backup and disaster recovery appliances in about 2 or 3 minutes. We'll just make sure that whoever else is coming turns up and we can go from there. If somebody wouldn't mind just simply saying screen and audio is fine, that would be wonderful. Just thank you very much, folks. Beautiful. Great stuff. Thank you, guys. Should play some music for 5 minutes, shouldn't we, while we're waiting? That's okay. We can wait. All right, folks, I think we might make a start. The particular deep dive today is about what we call a backup and disaster recovery appliance. It's a generic term that we use for our fixed image repository, because if it's not a fixed image repository, then I'm losing a lot of functionality that I could potentially use. Do not intend at all today to talk about USB hard drives and anything like that at all. We are talking about a backup and disaster recovery appliance for 2 styles of business. One being a small business and the other one being a, I don't know, what should we say for today, a medium-sized enterprise, medium-sized business, 20, 30, 40 servers, that sort of thing. So with that in mind, I'm going to start. I will ask you to keep all your questions till the end if you wouldn't mind, or you can pop them up there, but I will not be answering questions until the end. First thing I'm going to talk about, obviously, a lot of people, and I can imagine you're all sitting in a room, and I put up make my little stance and I say, who here uses NAS boxes? And half the room puts their hand up. Yep, that's cool. A lot of people do use a NAS box, but I'm going to tell you the problems with a NAS box. I'm going to tell you what the issues are and how you can potentially get around those issues to use the NAS appliance as a backup and disaster recovery appliance. Okay? So to do that, I'm just going to open up this little bit of a best practice guide here. It's got a picture on it. It makes life easy for us. Okay? Typically what most people do, and if we use this purely and simply as a guide for today, we've got a typical NAS box. Normally what people would do is connect the NAS box into the normal LAN switch and then the server backs up to the NAS box, yes? Well, that's a real problem, folks. If this actual cable connected into here, one of the problems I have with NAS boxes, you need to be very clear about what I'm about to say, okay? I'm just offering you information. I am not saying you're wrong or anything like that. I'm just simply offering you some advice. Traditional NAS boxes, and I don't care whether you paid $20 for it or you paid $200,000 for it. It's a NAS box. We're not talking Windows storage servers here, folks. We are talking Linux-based NAS devices. Linux is never going to be my problem. What is my problem is how we get a Windows server to talk to this thing. Okay? And just for the sake of the exercise, imagine it's connected through this LAN switch down to here, right? The big problem is that this Linux-based NAS box uses what's called Samba. Okay? Which is using SMB 1, 1.2, or if you're really lucky, 2. I'm going to quote some statistics. Now, these statistics can be verified if you want to go back and, read a whole bunch of NT4 manuals, because that's what SMB or Samba was all about, NT4 days. It was not designed for today. It's never been updated for today, okay? Sure, the firmwares are updated, whatever else, but this typical NAS box uses Samba, which was NT4 style technology. Now, let's talk about it. The outbound traffic out of this device in a normal network environment, 43 to 47% of the outbound traffic of this machine is purely and simply nothing but chatter. NetBIOS chatter. That chatter is basically this box saying, I'm here, I can do whatever you want, I can be your domain controller, or I can do this, I can do that, yada, yada, yada. 43% of the traffic. Now, I said 43 to 47%. If it's SMB 1 and 1.2, it was 47. SMB 2 dropped it down to about 43%, maybe a bit less, maybe 40%. But, 40% of the traffic coming out of this thing is this box simply sticking its hand on the network going, g'day, I'm here. All right? What does that cause? You imagine hanging off this LAN switch here, I've got 15 to 20 users all trying to get to the mail server sitting here. 43% of the traffic from here to this switch is this thing simply going, g'day, and it is not. Please remember this, folks. It is not directed traffic, it is broadcast traffic. So every computer on this network hears all this chatter coming out of this box. Okay, what can you do to fix the problem? Not a lot, to be truthful with you, except do what I've done here. Okay, to eliminate that network traffic. Okay, I've got a single server here. Why the hell don't I put a crossover cable on between the second network card of this thing and this thing? This particular network is, say, the 192 network. This network down here, I'm going to make the 10 series. I'm not going to actually register any of the IP addresses in DNS or anything like that. Just use pure IP, not names. And then I can back this thing up to here, and then Image Manager, which is not the point of the discussion today. We've had those discussions. But it becomes local traffic on this crossover cable between this box and this box. That definitely will help my situation. Is it perfect? No, but it's a buckload better than what I've had. And then if I go to the next layer, of course, if I come down here, there's another little picture, I hope. Here we go. Okay. This time I've got 2 servers backing up to the NAS box. And what we call this one, the NAS network, we call it a backup area network. This out here is where all the clients sit on the 192 series. This down here is the 10 series, and it's just isolated to here. Is it perfect? No, but it's a lot better than what I used to have, by a long shot. Eliminating some of that traffic. What would be my best scenario? What would be by far and above my best scenario? Because remember, 43% of the traffic going through this switch is, our lovely little NAS box over here through Samba just going chatter, chatter, chatter. Call it SMB, call it CIFO, it really doesn't matter to me, but the concept behind SMB is chatter, 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 the early versions. Okay. What would be a better solution? I'm going to come back to this picture because it makes a little more sense this way. Now, one server. This NAS box, okay, if I tried to, virtual boot, well, that machine doesn't exist anymore, so how the hell do I virtual boot? I can't. If I come back down to this one, okay, I and I had virtual boot running on either of these two, well, I could boot the other machine potentially off this network because I've eliminated an awful lot of traffic and I've perhaps got it a little bit more dedicated. You know, I could virtual boot. Don't know how reliable it would be, but I could definitely do it. Yes. Whereas up here it would be, you know, damn near impossible. What could I do now, folks, to turn this into a much better device? Because people use NAS boxes because of budget-conscious customers. Is that the polite way of calling some of our customers we have today? Budget-conscious? Yeah, absolutely. You know, they don't want to spend $10, but their data's worth absolute squillions to them, because without it, they don't have a business until the day the business drops out because the backups devices never worked. Yeah, then they start to think about the cost of these things. But budget-conscious people want to buy a NAS box. Cool. You know, we've dealt with some of the traffic issues we can deal with. What else could we do? If this NAS box, folks, supports the iSCSI technology, okay? If it supports iSCSI, turn it into an iSCSI target and make this box an iSCSI initiator. Then it becomes dedicated iSCSI or SCSI over Ethernet traffic. No more chatter out of this bloke. No more, you know, g'day. Not interested in that anymore. Becomes dedicated traffic. Now, if I come down to this picture here, and I wish I had the time to perhaps I should have taken the time, and I was to rework this picture and I would have said an iSCSI NAS box, I would have picked one of these two servers and I would have said which one to use the least busiest, and I would have made it my fixed image repository server, directly connected this to there, and make this thing back up to here via the normal network, and iSCSI connect down to here. What have I done? I've eliminated all of that excess traffic, and it becomes local disk traffic as far as this and these two boxes are concerned. Sure, it's on a switch or a pure crossover cable, but as an iSCSI target, I've eliminated just about most of my problems. If this was an iSCSI target, QNAP NAS boxes are quite a classic here, folks. I've tested them to the nth degree. As a NAS box, I get, if I'm extremely lucky, I will get 15 to 18 megabytes a second. But if I turn it into an iSCSI target connected to a server and I back this server up via this one to the iSCSI target, to a folder or share hanging off here, which is this, 5 times the performance. 5 times. It's not the Samba stuff that's slowing me down anymore. It becomes disk I/O or network traffic. That is my problem. So if I turn this into an iSCSI target, this NAS box just about fixes most of my problems. Okay? And I say just about because there's the odd chance that, you know, a network card could go south, or the crossover cable, you know, somebody starts pulling on it trying to find a loose connection somewhere, and yeah, you know all the bits and pieces. But in an ideal world, as an iSCSI target, this NAS box, an iSCSI device, directly connected to here with the share hanging off here. This server then backs up to here. It becomes local traffic for Image Manager. I can virtual boot. I can do damn near anything I want. I've eliminated the traffic off this network. Yes? And that's the whole point behind using the iSCSI technology, because it eliminates all that other traffic and it becomes local traffic, basically. Local disk traffic across an internet, the Ethernet, of course, but 5 times the performance, and that has to be worth considering. Okay? So in the smaller environments, you know, folks, there you can definitely do that. Okay? By all means, you can certainly do that, and that does work, folks. What do we do in the larger place? Well, I'm going to take you to our own backup server, folks. This I've just RDP'd into a computer in Sydney. It's called STC-DR. It is our backup and disaster recovery appliance. It has Oracle VirtualBox on it. It has Image Manager on it. It has the disk capacity to do what we want to do. Okay? I did close that, didn't I? Okay, that's fine. All right. Folks, what this purely simply is, and I'm going to do this a couple of ways. You can see the disk arrangement here. There's a C drive, an E drive, a top shelf, a bottom shelf, and a local drive replication device. Yes? Okay. Let's go into computer management and show you this. Okay? You can see here that I have, and these are SAS disks, by the way, folks. All I did was split it up 4 odd years ago now. February 2011, whenever it was, January 2011. I split the RAID 5 up into 2 partitions, and there's my C drive, and I've got this data partition, which has got, if you have a look up the top here, 300 meg on it. 300 odd gig, bugger all data on it. It's not used, it's used for page file, but it is used for one other critical thing. Okay, then I've got the disk 1 and 2, which is my bottom shelf and my top shelf, and this is a USB hard drive, which is for local drive replication that I use as an alternate method to take our drives off site. Our backups off site. I intend to ignore disk 3 for today, folks. If I go to Device Manager, you can see that I've got the Dell. If I go to disk drives, you can see I've got a PERC H700, and I've got these 2 IFT. That is our direct attached SCSI interface, direct attached Infotran storage device. So I'm using a SCSI device, just pure SCSI, Ultra 320 on it, and this particular one, to talk to these 2 disks here. So if I minimize that and I'll open up the Array Manager just so you can get a concept of what's going on here, folks. Disk 0 and disk 1, they're both RAID 5s. 4 2 terabyte RAID, 4 2 terabyte SATA hard drives in a RAID 5. That's all I've used. Okay. And if I now look at this particular screenshot, okay, there's my C drive, folks, nothing out of the ordinary. And here's my E drive. And what's most important about the E drive is Oracle Virtual Machines. Okay? So when I open up Oracle VirtualBox to do virtual boots, I have my preferences. And if I go here, File, Preferences, it's pointing to that E drive, yes? So this is now what I would do if I was to do a virtual boot. Okay? Come down, pick the particular drive, or the particular server. For example, we might pick this machine. Pick the appropriate point and go right click and go virtual boot. What happens when I do the virtual boot is any writes get written into here. So this becomes quite an effective and quite a complete solution for a larger organization. If you look here, we'll go back to the top shelf for a second. Ignore those top 3, but that one's now turned off, and so is that one. There's 11 servers here that I look after and manage and deal with, all backing up every 30 minutes basically. And if you have a look, I'll click back up here, the top shelf, okay, it's about half full at the moment. Okay, and therefore there's Image Manager doing its job based on that F drive. Okay, so what I'm using here is direct attached storage, which is the whole point of this exercise. I have a dedicated server that is doing, it's also doing a bit of antivirus stuff for us and a few other minor bits and pieces, but its main role, main purpose in life, it is my fixed image repository, as you can see. I am using this shelf on a direct attached storage device for my servers to back up to. I'm using the E drive, sorry, I'll go back to that. I'm using the E drive for where I'm putting my Oracle virtual machines, and basically then I can do anything I want with this particular machine. If our entire network dies, folks, basically every other server happens to die, I can bring it all up on here. Run really slow, but you know, I could. This box has got, if you go to performance on this thing, you can see the amount of processors, and it's got 32 gig of memory. Okay? Most of those machines, that's a physical machine, that's a virtual machine, that's a physical machine, that's virtual, 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 virtual. That's the physical machine that hosts all of those virtual machines. So my backup and disaster recovery appliance that I'm using here is a Windows server. Okay, it is by far and away the best bang for your buck in a larger environment, because it can do everything. As you can see here, I can replicate from here, I can virtual boot from here, I can do virtual boot for testing, for DR purposes. I've used virtual boot for sandpit environments when somebody wanted a particular piece of software installed on this server. So this gives me a complete tool, for the want of a bit of exercise. And folks, you got to remember, where am I sitting? I'm sitting in Brisbane. This stuff's all in Sydney. If that server was to die for whatever reason, I could virtual boot it here, no problems at all. Okay? It is horses for courses, and if you build this server in the correct manner, you know, not read from a RAID 5 and write to a RAID 5 for virtual booting and all those sorts of silly things, you build this in the correct manner. I have one in Brisbane here that basically has 64 gig of memory in it. It's got about the same amount of processors that I have here, but it's got a fiber channel connected SAN, and there's 149 managed folders. They never ever have a problem with the fixed image repository for backups. It's always there. It's highly available. It's been scaled out to do the job. That's a very rare one, folks. Normally I would say to most people, you know, finely tuned, and there's a whole bunch of things you can do to finely tune it, but finely tuned, I would say 100 would be your absolute limit. These guys are currently at the moment 149 managed folders working off this type of box. So you can see that the benefits and the of going this particular way, building something like this for a larger environment, 10, 20, 30, 40 servers, 50, 60 servers, fine. Up to 100 servers. It's just a improvement, speccing up of this to suit that environment, folks. Okay? All right, let's see what sort of questions I have raised. Okay. Gentleman here has obviously asked a question with regards to NAS boxes, pure and simple NAS boxes. I'm currently in the Brisbane office because of a power supply failure that I've had at the last cyclone we had here a couple of weeks ago. I am yet to get the replacement power supply for my fixed image repository. I am currently using a NAS box. It's an old one. I've tested quite a few of the Buffaloes that support the iSCSI scenario. They work very well. QNAP has an iSCSI target. They work exceptionally well. Synology as an iSCSI target. Brilliant pieces of kit. There's one other I'm going to mention, and it's been 12 months since I did this, but it was a Netgear Ready Data. As a NAS box, it was hopeless, but as an iSCSI target, my goodness gracious me, wasn't it quick. It was brilliant as an iSCSI target. It never missed a beat, seriously. Especially when you dealt with the network traffic, so it wasn't on the same switch as everything else, and all those sorts of bits and pieces. It was perfect. But as a NAS box, it caused an awful lot of grief. They seem to have issues, ongoing issues with, they'll fix a firmware, or there's a problem, so they'll put a firmware out to fix that, and something else is being, something else may or may not break. But as an iSCSI target, when I've tested them, they were brilliant. When you want to go into the smaller marketplace, and we didn't really cover this one either, folks. What do I do if I've got four to let's go 4 to sort of 6 or maybe 8 servers? How do I deal with that? What's the most cost-effective way with that? 4 to 6 servers, do I want to put in a dedicated server? May I make a slight recommendation to you? And a lot of people are starting to do this. There's a couple of potential issues. You just got to watch which ones you pick. Everybody's heard of those HP-style microservers. The current new versions support the i3s and i5s CPUs, which means I can actually do virtual boots on the damn things as well. I'm seeing an awful lot of people starting to move into that area and use Windows Storage Server on those appliances. Okay? I've actually tested a couple of them to about 9 servers. I've tested them to. I left them as default. I didn't modify anything as much as I wanted to. I just left them at default and said, oh, let's see how long it takes for me to break them. I tested them for this one particular one for 6 weeks. And it was on the Atom processor version too, not the i3s and i5 Intel processors. I couldn't virtual boot on those, but I tell you what, I couldn't break it. It was perfect for my fixed image repository for image retention, verification, consolidation, and replication. That's what I want. That's the basics that I need from a BDR device. Okay, the backup and disaster recovery appliance. The final thing, obviously, is with the i3s and i5s, I would have got virtual boot capability, which would have been brilliant. And I've tested one of those as well, the newer ones, and they were brilliant as well. So consider one of those, folks. They are not that expensive these days. Okay. All right, folks. Any other questions at all? Well, I will reinforce, again what I said. Okay, I'll answer this question in 2 seconds. I will reinforce what I said. Please give your NAS Box technology another really good look, because iSCSI is definitely going to help you out, especially when everybody today should be considering continuous incremental change. Now, I have a gentleman here who's asked a question. With the SPX launch recently, will it have ImageManager and VirtualBox installed in a Linux-based image repository server? You got one of the two, sir. You didn't get the third one. I'm sorry. SPX, folks, for those who are not aware of it, SPX is the new version of Shadow Protect, completely written from the ground up again. Still uses the same basic concepts, but it's been rewritten. This particular machine here is a CentOS OS. It is backed up by SPX. This one here is a Windows box that is in beta. Okay, this one here is release software. It has VirtualBox capabilities or the virtual boot capabilities. It just doesn't have Image Manager at this point in time. There is no mention of when that will happen, but I can see it coming very, very quickly. Then we can have, you know, especially if I can get away from using Samba and I could use another NFS style shared system or something like that to actually talk to it, I can see that the Linux-based backup and disaster recovery appliances are probably going to be the way to go in the future, but at the moment there is no image manager on Linux. Okay, so I'm sorry about that one. That would have been a nice to have, but it's not there yet. Okay, now I'm just going to go back here, folks. There was a question that folks, this one's really, really off topic, but I need to fix the question. Just bear with me for 2 seconds. Oh, I don't need to do that. I can go to this one. Go away. Gentleman just asked a question, I believe. I think it is a gentleman who asked this particular question. What he wants to do is shift this to, say, 9 o'clock at night so that he can get more after hours replication time. Because if he leaves it at 5 past midnight, it's basically got until 7 o'clock in the morning when people start turning up and, you know, carrying on. So you can do that. Don't have a problem if you do that. Just remember one thing, if you wouldn't mind. If I put this at 9 o'clock, like my last backup finishes at 7 o'clock, and I configure this to do daily consolidation at 9 o'clock at night, okay? At 9 o'clock at night, is it going to deal with today's backups, or is it going to deal with yesterday's backups? It will deal with yesterday's, not today's. This will only ever deal with yesterday. So that's why at 4 minutes past midnight, it'll deal with yesterday. If I've got it at 9 o'clock at night, it's not going to deal with today, it's going to deal with yesterday's. It'll be basically, I don't know, what are we talking, 12, 9, 18, 21 hours behind. Okay? Sure, you can do that. If you're concerned about your replication speeds affecting the internet experience of the users in the production site, then I strongly would advise you to consider not using performance here to fine-tune this, because that's based on CPU slicing. Go to this and set up the limits for that particular person so that through the day it can only have, X amount of bandwidth. This is far more accurate than that. Okay? I don't use this. It is not, it's based on CPU slicing. It's not as accurate as it should be. Okay? A little bit off topic, but I couldn't let that one go. Okay, folks. Based on that now, folks, I believe I've covered all the topics. Again, I am going to suggest look at your NAS boxes, see if you can turn them into iSCSIs, create for yourself what's called a backup area network. You will get great benefits from doing that, especially the iSCSI. You will see huge improvements, folks, seriously huge improvements. And if the server that's sitting in front of the iSCSI target as the iSCSI initiator dies, well, it's not that difficult to reconfigure another one to do the same job. Okay? So it's still well worth considering, folks. All right. Based on that, folks, I'm going to say thank you. You enjoy the rest of your day and have a great weekend. Thank you very much, folks.